Morning.
Morning. How goes it? It's tax day. Everybody paid their taxes? Yeah, right. Realtor, it's called Extension Day in realtor world, right?
That's what it is.
I'm kidding. All right. It is April 15th. We should dive in.
Let's do it.
Manny, give me some good words. What's on your heart, your mind?
Hey, we're doing great. We've got the market. It's picking up. If you're out there and you're doing your working your systems in your sphere, you're getting busy.
There you go. I think we are definitely into spring market. We're going to see that here in the numbers. Um, Yet there's some interesting things floating around out there that I think we'll talk through here shortly. But let's hit the numbers first. All
Mhm.
right, Fulton County, and we've been tracking data a long time. Inventory is going to be one of the key words today. We're at 929 active inventory in Fulton County, just a hair down from last week, which was 965, but it is drastically better than it has been in a very long time. So 929 active inventory is a positive thing. Um, I do think days on market have creeped up. We're going to look at that this Thursday at the State of the Industry. If you've not got your ticket, they are going fast. Make sure you get your ticket to Thursday's State of the Industry. Luke, if you're on here, you could drop that in the chat. That'd be great. If not, I'll get it for everybody. Um, but Thursday's State of the Industry, we're going to dive really, really deep. So make sure you're there. But 929 active inventory, 138 went under contract in the last 7 days. We're sitting at 322 pending with 289 closings. So if you look at this, 333 and 289, let's just call that a little over 600 houses in Fulton County have already closed since the beginning of April. That's a big number. Let's run over to DeKalb. Click. Hello. There you go. All right. And DeKalb County, I'm suspecting it's going to be the same thing around inventory, Manny. Um, we are seeing 539 active inventory. So spring market, we understand we operate on a bell curve, and that bell curve climbs and climbs through the spring market. It will peak at some point in time in the next 60 days, but 539 is a really positive sign. So what that means is you have more property to go sell right now than you did 2 weeks ago. You have a lot more property to sell right now than you did 30 days ago. So you should be taking advantage of that. 109 went under contract in the last 7 days. If you just look at DeKalb County, that's more properties that went under contract in a very long time in a 7 day period. So activity, progress, movement, big deal. 188 are pending and 186 closed. So that's almost what we've been seeing at the end of the month. But here we are in the middle of the month with 186 properties that closed in the last 7 days. If I hit Cobb County, I suspect it's the same story. Cobb County has 479 active inventory. These are huge inventory numbers that we haven't seen in years. So we've been begging for inventory to show up. It's certainly showing up now. And the other thought, Manny, is that the mindset of the seller that didn't want to sell their house because they had a 3% interest rate and they didn't want to buy at a 7% interest rate, that may be dissipating a little bit. And people are starting to move their property because life happens, right? Divorce, diapers, all the D words, diamonds. People are looking to make moves, and we're seeing it. Active under contract 89, which is healthy for Cobb. 213 is a high number in the pendings for Cobb County. And then, of course, 177 properties closed in the last 7 days. That's almost 400 houses in Cobb County have closed since the beginning of the month, which is big, big numbers. What do you see in it, Manny?
You see, you think by now I know how to use the mute button. I was saying I see two big things. One, this is the time to be hyper local with your knowledge, right? This is where we talk about you're the professional, you got to be the professional, take advantage of every realtor connection that you have because these off markets and coming soons are where there's a lot of opportunity, right? If you are networking in your team meetings, in your offices within heart of Atlanta, there's a lot of coming soon and off market that I think we need to be looking at. And the second is those have to move clients are your sweet spot right now, right? They're at a place where, all right, they have to make a move, whether they're expanding their family or something happens, divorce. And this is what we've been talking about in our office is stay vigilant and on the sidelines, use the social media relationships you have, watch those life activities. And as you do, make sure you're making your way in there so they know that you're the expert.
Absolutely. Hey, Rick.
Hey, buddy.
All right. So I want to preface this next conversation with the concept of the crystal ball. There is no such thing as a crystal ball, and we get thrown curveballs all the time. So we've been on these calls talking about how we believe the Fed is probably going to drop some interest rates in the May-June timeframe. And we expected to have some relief around interest rates the second half of this year. The new crystal ball is throwing a little wrench in that whole conversation. So what you need to be aware of is inflation is projected to come in higher than what they anticipated. And I think the number I heard was 3.5. And what that's going to mean is you can see what I highlighted. It says, heading into the year, markets saw an accommodated Fed poised to cut interest rates early and often. That has changed dramatically. So what's going to happen if you look at, I think I got them here, rates as of today, we're at like 7.3. We haven't seen rates that high in quite a while. And we were teetering around 7. And we would make comments like, oh man, if we could just get a 6 on the front of that number, everything would be great. Yet I do think we're still going to teeter around 7, but we've been kind of holding our breath, hoping that the Fed would cut interest rates in that May-June time period. I'm not holding my breath on that any longer if inflation comes in at 3.5. And it's not the sky is falling. What I would do is this is an awareness factor that these rates are probably here to stay for a period of time. But I would take you back to the data that says we are having record sales compared to what we've had in the last 18 months right now. And all those sales are saying yes to 7% interest rates. So as a real estate professional, I think you got to check your mindset a little bit here because we've been talking about marry the house, date the rate. You'll reposition the rate in the future. I still believe that's a strong script, a strong dialogue. And anybody that's on the fence, at this point in time, there's no point in sitting on the fence because I don't think there's going to be a drastic change in interest rates, at least in the next 3 months, probably not this year. And I hope you hear that as a constant conversation, not a negative conversation, because I don't think with inflation coming in, that rates are going to really move that much. What do you guys think?
Well, it is and always has been about affordability. And so if your conversation is strictly about raw numbers and data, you're not going to win. You're not going to move the heart because you have, the head's got to align. And so my best advice is make sure you're talking in terms of net benefit, net opportunity, and what wealth building looks like long term, because it's not a short term fight. You factor in the mortgage interest deduction, make sure they understand the real ramifications of whatever tax bracket they're in and what the true cost of that money is. And then reverse engineer opportunity for quality of life and make sure that it aligns with what really moves the needle for people. And it's an experience. And if that's not your conversation, rate's important, but to me, it's always been well down the list. And then it comes down to net cost of ownership. And if it fits inside their paradigm of feasibility, you're going to win, especially if you can sell and promote, I should say, and market the idea that, hey, you get one run at this life we have. Why not make it the best it can be? I mean, this is your story, and I'm here to help fulfill a part of it and making sure that you're maximizing your life experience while you're on Earth. And
Yeah,
literally get that granular and that real. And if you do, you'll move people at the heart level, and then the head catches up and they don't get hung up on the bleeding edge media that's constantly just hammering us with negativity.
Rick, you are right on it. It's know the why. Right now, you better be spending time. Those times where we just had the quick listing appointment where we really just went in there to tell them what they needed to fix and all that. No. We need to sit down. We didn't know why. I mean, I'm seeing clients more than ever kind of putting their houses and then retracting. They kind of freak out a little bit. So if you're not having that conversation, you're going to be suffering with how much you've spent on, marketing material, listing and all that. And then the other part, Brett, that you mentioned, that script is still very powerful, but it gets even more powerful, in my opinion, if you have your partner in lending sharing in those conversations, those very real convos. And like Rick just said, we have to know where they sit in that in their income bracket and figure out what is the best move. I think that's where the key is.
Well, here's another logic. Here's another spin on logic too, Manny. Awesome point. Ask them straight up. If no one denies their own truth, do you actually see interest rates back in the 3 to 4, 4.5, 5 range? There's not a human with a heartbeat that's paying attention that thinks that's coming now or anytime soon. Yep. So what are you waiting for? This is the new paradigm, and what we have now that we know, it kind of goes back to that. Now that we know the rules of the game, let's craft a strategy that you win with.
100.
There you go. I found this article. I thought it was interesting. It's talking about inflation and what's still rising. Now, granted, they pulled these numbers at the end of last year, but vehicle insurance, anybody paying their car insurance rate lately, that number is the most inflated cost out of all of us, right? And then, of course, maintenance. If you bought tires recently, you would know. But I want to draw your attention to the third one. And it says rent of primary residence. So if somebody is paying rent on a primary residence where they live, the inflation or the escalation of that rent, and these are averages, of course, you got to go hyper local, but the average is at 7.2%. So is that good or bad for us?
It's good.
I think it's good.
But you've got to be able to tell the story. I guess here's the real answer. It depends. It goes back to affordability, but it also goes back to being able to unequivocally compare the price the cost of renting versus the benefit of owning. And if you can't win that battle, you're probably in a detrimented position as a real estate professional.
100%. That's probably one of the first conversations you've got to learn to navigate, right? Is the cost of owning versus the cost of renting and the benefits that play into both. But I think when rents escalate at this rate, it pushes people more emotionally motivated, to Manny's point, the why, into owning real estate.
Yeah.
And by the way, renters don't have a history of 3% interest. It is what it is to them, right? And it's still an affordability conversation, but if rents continue to escalate at that rate, I think it drives home ownership rates higher.
Yep.
For
I think
sure.
I think again, just having that sit down and really talking about, okay, well, they want to buy in, Kirkwood or off the belt line, in Midtown, and we have to know your areas, right? Be the expert, go explore, go to these open houses. What they're looking for could be in a different area. You just have to know how to pivot and ask, would this be an option, right? Take them out. I've done that. Take them out. Let's check out the area. Let's walk it, right? You want walkability and you want what the Beltline offers with biking and all that. Let's go see a certain area that might be a little different and might fit your price point. Having that real conversation will get you there.
That's a
There you go.
really good point, Manny, because I've historically, back in the day when I did a lot of buyer representation, we would start with the perfect ideal, can't believe I get to live here. And often the product's not there at their price point when it's an entry level buyer. But then
Yeah.
you start doing concentric circles. And so maybe, not maybe, I believe this is the time in your career when you better get good at those peripheral neighborhoods that are similar and up and coming and have potential, and show
Yep.
them how that's a leapfrog back into the ideal neighborhood by letting that house carry you with equity build and appreciation and paying down the mortgage over like 4 years from now. Let me show you what it might look like 5 years from now and how you can leapfrog back with better credibility, some savings, as well as some money returned on that house that you now bought that's at some point paying you back versus renting, which pays nothing back.
Yep. And that's
Yeah.
what's keeping people in these high rents. I know people that I cannot get out of there because the complexes, the apartments and those builders, they know that they're building at such a level that you can't afford in Midtown to purchase if you're a first-time home buyer, especially. So you end up staying there because you go, well, I am kind of overpaying, but I love having this beautiful rooftop and this beautiful gym and these amenities. So again, you gotta have that deep dive in the combo.
Well, you nailed it
There you
early
go.
on, Manny. It's about the why. If their why isn't building wealth and it isn't ownership, then, obviously the functional utility of convenience has a price attached. And to Brett's point, that's escalating fast.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you're just wondering where all your money goes, you can see it on here, right?
If you add
Good
that
news
up,
is
you
cars
just
are
paid
down,
double.
new vehicles are down, and used cars are down. And airline fares, I've been waiting on that one. I felt like all the airline went out through the roof. But nonetheless, I think it's an interesting conversation. All right, I want to hit this. So single family homes is talking about fourth quarter 2023. So the end of last year. Basically the number came in at just about 30% of the purchases were going to investors. And
Wow.
I think that's a big number.
Yep.
And I guess the question is I always I think, there's so many facets to how you perceive information like this. Like that's 30% of the homes that were taken away from people that could have purchased, of course. That's a perspective. As a real estate professional, how many investors do I have in my database that should pay attention to this and say, hey, I need to go invest in real estate? Could be a perspective. Should I be investing in real estate and building my wealth? Because the other thing that I thought about, and then I'll kick it to you guys, is, and I realize a lot of investors purchase with cash, but they also purchase on short-term perspective around cost of money with long-term perspective around wealth or equity. And maybe we should take some notes around that right now. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts?
I think there was an interesting part in here that I liked, or that stood out, and that is that when they surveyed these same investors, right, this group of
Yeah.
investors, 41% of them said that they actually expect it to get much better or much better for them, right, even in 6 months. And I think, yes, like you said, there's one way of looking at it. Let me get my investors in it. You should be having this combo with them if they can afford it. But on the other side, what does this mean for us with buyers? It means we have a lot of competition out there because yes, there are people buying with cash, but on top of that, there's really savvy people and they've got savvy teams around them. And sometimes our buyers don't have that unless you provide that value. So I think that's definitely something you want to look at. And you want to have that convo with your client even before going into it. Because man, that they get weary, right? When you lose offer after offer after offer, and it's a lot of investors. We remember seeing this a couple years ago, right? It got really bad. It gets to the point where it's depressing, right? So you have to start really having these convos and warn your buyers of what's happening in the market.
Yeah, I
Well,
think, and
and
then
if
the
skilled-
media, go ahead, Rick.
If skilled and trained investors are in the market buying at this rate, that tells you that if the professionals think there's still upside and you should be buying, just take notice. Take notice. And if they're obviously looking at the 7% increase in rental cost and see, why wouldn't you at least put your toe in the game and find that perfect place for the opportunity, even if it takes a few? But yeah, when experts are putting their money down, the odds are that there's still value and upside potential. It's another,
Yeah.
it validates buying is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
The media will take it to the extreme, and they throw this out. Stealing people's future. Corporate landlords now own over 19,000 single-family homes in Metro Atlanta, and they're shutting local buyers out of the market, right? I don't know that that's
extreme.
100% true. I think they've owned those homes for a very long time, yet Atlanta is definitely an investor-friendly market. A lot of it has to do with the laws around tenancy and evictions, and it has a lot to do with the value of our properties. But I don't want to spend too much time on that. But state legislature blames local government, not investors, for rising prices. So what do they mean by that?
Well, I mean, it means there's people that are ready to kind of take action, right? This Georgians for quality housing options are out there trying to work to influence, right, in the political sphere. So you've got a lot of people talking about the new construction problem here, right? And that's been happening. If you've been keeping your eye on that, it's kind of scary how many new homes we need, contrasted with how little the build is. That things we need to be paying attention to. They're warning signs.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're seeing some of the government do some action around some affordable housing, some tighter restrictions on investing. I know we went through the whole short-term rental legislation period, right? Like all that stuff affects us. It depends on what side of the coin you're on, of course. If you're an investor building wealth, it's one side of the coin. If you're trying to help first-time home buyers get into property, it's another side of the coin, right? It's not, we're not saying one way or the other. It's just a conversation. All right, so I'm going to drop this article because we're not going to have time to go through the whole thing, but I want to briefly talk about it. So it's an age-old saying in real estate: list to last, be the economist of choice in your neighborhood, be a listing agent, is the seasonality effect of real estate. And working with agents for years, I actually think this is harder than most people realize. It's easy to find buyers in the real estate space, and it takes a skill set, it takes a focus, it takes a strategy to really become a strong listing agent in real estate. And it's not hard, but it's not easy either. And this article is 30 listing lead generation ideas. I don't know why they put post NAR settlement, because it really doesn't relate to this article. But like the first one's farming. I think that's a lost art in our industry right now. I've been talking about this for a while. And to be a great listing agent, you really kind of have to put a flag in the ground and say, I'm an expert in this. And it could be a neighborhood, it could be short sales, it could be REO, it could be short-term rentals, it could be an investor or an expert in investing in real estate. Wholesalers put a flag in the ground saying, I'm willing to help people offload their properties. But those are listings, right? the other conversation around this article is a concept called stacking. So in marketing terms, stacking creates a multiply or an exponential return on investment around your efforts. So for instance, if I was to take a farming neighborhood and direct mail market that farming neighborhood, that's one level of marketing. But the third strategy on here, outside of calling Airbnb owners, is create YouTube content. So if I were to go put a flag in the ground on a neighborhood and say I'm going to own that neighborhood, I could stack my efforts by filming a bunch of YouTube content around that neighborhood. Here's the parks, here's the local small businesses, here's where you would, here's the gym, here's the restaurants you would eat at. The reason these are important is it all comes back to being a great listing agent. And you have to have a strategy and you have to focus on it. So I would encourage you to go get this article off Inman or find somebody that's got an Inman subscription, they can print it for you. And go through these 30 things, because that's really like geographic farming has been around forever. But it's a strategy that you probably should focus on. What would y'all say?
When you have the combo about stacking, Brett, it's just more efficient. It's more efficient in time and spending. So if you are spending and stacking, and it gets that's where you want to be, right? Sweet spot.
Yep.
Well,
All right.
here's
So
the
what's
thing.
our message today, guys?
Here's the message I have, Brett. Go back to MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and dive in and use it, read it, but use it like an operations manual. They're tried and true. Nothing's deviated from how to win big in real estate and become a millionaire, income producing realtor. If the number's 50-1, the ratio 12-2 don't immediately resonate, you need to go back and read it, or read it again, or read it the first time. Top agents, read it 7, 8, 10 times. It's not a one and done. It's an operations manual. 50-1, you talked about farming, geographic farming, and historical data for an experienced agent in a neighborhood that they serve and live and know. For every 50 people you mail a postcard, jumbo card to once a month, you should generate a lead. For every 50 at $1 a card, you're going to spend $600. Would you pay me $600 today, right now, for a certified, verified sale in your neighborhood that's a listing that probably generates a buyer lead as well? And the answer is, well, yeah, but you don't do it. That's called investing. That's called commitment. That's called professional. So my advice is go back to the MRA. And by the way, let's overlay that with, oh, times are tougher. Oh, it's harder. Oh, my conversion isn't as great. Great. Do 100-1. So, manage your ROI against reality for the paradigm you live in. And if it's 100-1, you just spent $1,200 for a lead. If your average sales price is $400,000 and you generate $12,000 in commission, is it worth, $1,200 for that sale?
10%.
1,000%.
The number for lead generation in MREA.
So go back to MREA, really become a student of the game, and then apply those rules and strategies, and let the magic take. It takes time. This is not a microwave solution. It's a crock pot that builds a career worth having, and a business worth owning, and a life worth living. But you've got to treat your business like a professional. If you're not, you're going to get amateur results for the rest of your time walking around with a real estate agent card.
There you go. Thursday, 1 to 3. I just put the link in the chat again. It is our state of the industry update. I really, really, really would encourage all of you to be there. This is a conversation we need to all be engaged in right now. And I want to empower you with the data and the scripts and everything you need to know to go succeed. Have a good one.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. See you guys.
Bye, guys.